Welcome to the Caring Center Report. Our guest today is Tammy Andersson, founder, president of Got-Autism. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you.
And autism, it's something we're hearing more about, and more children are being affected by it. Give me the layman's definition now of autism and how it affects children.
Sure. Autism is a developmental disorder. It's neurological in nature, and it's usually diagnosed within the first 3 years of life. It affects a person's functioning in the following areas: social skills, language, communication, their sensory system, and then all this in turn affects their behavior. It's important to remember that autism is also a spectrum disorder. There's a broad range. On one end, you can have individuals that are nonverbal with significant cognitive challenges, self-injurious behavior. On the other end, you have what is called Asperger's syndrome. Now, folks with Asperger's syndrome are very intelligent. They have above average IQ, very good expressive language, but yet markedly impaired social skills, very weak perspective taking. Now, with Asperger's syndrome, they're usually diagnosed later in life, anywhere between 8 and 12 years of age. And it's my opinion that they get diagnosed later because they are so smart, and their brilliance, I think, covers up their deficits or their disability. And a lot of times it isn't until these kids get into school that you start to see that they are different.
So your company, Got-Autism, what caused you to start that?
Well, in 2005, my son was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. And when a parent hears the word autism or Asperger's syndrome, your world pretty much goes splat. And you want to find out all that you can about the disorder. And I encourage people, if they have, of course, if they have a child, but grandparents, aunts and uncles, anybody has a connection to a child with autism, it really behooves them to find out all that they can, because they can better support that child, better support the family. But then after that, I wanted to be able to do things with my son to help him overcome his deficits. But I couldn't really find anything or any comprehensive line of products that was going to help me. And I wanted to do this particularly when he was young, in this critical age of his brain development. So it really wasn't a far stretch, coming from a family business that is an industrial distributor, Hydrotech Incorporated, to think, why can't we do this for autism? And I wanted to help families, and I wanted to help the individuals, help take the sting out of autism. So what we did was create a line of products, of therapeutic, educational, practical life products for kids and teens on the autism spectrum, for all abilities. And then we also carry resources for parents and professionals who are working with the autism population.
So I've been to your website, and I noticed that you have all this variety of offerings for families and the individuals with autism. What's your mission?
Our mission is simple. It's really to enrich the lives of individuals with autism, and also to help them achieve satisfying and productive lives. But we also want to help raise autism awareness, and then also help the autism community become more recognized for their exceptional differences and abilities.
And so, from the business part of it, how do you go to market? What are the kinds of products that you have?
Well, it's different from Hydrotech. Hydrotech, we're business to business. Got-Autism is we go to market largely through our online store, and then we also have a product catalog. But a large part of our market is business to consumer, parents and families who are raising a child with autism. But then we're also selling to the professional population, such as school districts, therapists, speech therapists, occupational therapists, special educators, clinics, hospitals, and also government agencies that are working with developmental disabilities.
And so how does your company, Got-Autism, support those families and professionals?
Well, our product line, we have over 1,000 products now on our site. We have 18 different product categories. And what we do is we tag products with different developmental skill icons, is what we call them. Online, for example, products will have 1 of 10 or even more than one skill icon. And there's several different areas that individuals with autism have deficits. For example, see if I can name all 10. There's fine motor skills, gross motor skills, sensory processing, social skills, eye-hand coordination, visual perception, motor planning, bilateral integration, academic skills, and then also transition skills. So a product, for example, therapeutic play putty. We sell lots of different types of therapeutic play putty. Children with autism have notoriously weak hands, so they need to build up their hand strength. So on the site, our therapeutic play putty will have a fine motor skill icon. And then it will also have maybe a sensory processing icon, because the act of kneading and playing this putty, it's tactile, it's sensory, and that small bit of sensory input for somebody on the spectrum is very calming. And especially for a child who's becoming overwhelmed, playing with this putty can help avoid what we call a meltdown.
Oh, yes.
So.
And I know that when we chatted in preparing for this interview, that you mentioned therapeutic intervention is really important when you have a child with autism. Mm-hmm. Well, why do you say that?
Therapeutic intervention is key. And if you suspect that your child has autism or is showing signs of autism, the worst thing a parent can do is nothing. The earlier, the better. And therapies can really change overall outcomes for children with autism. There's many different types of therapy, and I like to stress, too, that one therapy that might be useful for one child and yield great results might not do so much in the next child. Just like autism is a spectrum, autism affects children differently, and different therapies work. One type of therapy that's very productive for children, especially our young kiddos that are nonverbal, is called applied behavioral analysis, ABA therapy. And it's based on principles of behavior modification. And it's very helpful for children. It can mean the difference between a child remaining nonverbal and becoming verbal. Occupational therapy is great for helping kids with autism overcome their sensory differences. Speech therapy, music therapy. There's biomedical interventions. That's when you might hear of the autism diet. That's when a gluten-free diet and different types of detoxification can really help repair a child's immune system. And then they can respond to other therapies. There's lots of different therapies out there, and I just really encourage parents to be steadfast in finding which therapy their child responds to.
Well, Tammy, it's obvious that you've learned a lot about autism, taking what was a challenge and turning it into something positive for the public and now for your company. What other things would you want us to know about your company?
Well, we give back to the autism community. We give proceeds back to the autism community, and there's several organizations here locally that we support with cash. In 2008, beginning 2008, a lot of our nonprofits really started to take it on the chin with less donations, and we really support their work. They're in the trenches, really working and making a difference for our children. One local agency is in Xenia, Ohio. It's called 4 Paws for Ability. They train autism service dogs, and autism service dogs can really mean a lot for a child with autism by keeping them safe. There's some kids with autism who are quote-unquote runners, and they will just dart out of the house or away from their parent or caretaker, and they have no sense of danger. So they can, autism dog helps keep them safe. A therapy dog can also help forge that social connection and really increase the quality of life for somebody with autism. So that's what 4 Paws for Ability does.
What would be another example of? I know when I went to your website, there's a button.
Yes.
Where you go to and you see what you support. The Paws was one of them.
Yes.
What's another example?
Families with ASD. That is a nonprofit in Milford, Ohio. They really help families that are raising a child with autism feel less isolated, feel more normal. Cincinnati Center for Autism out in Fairfield, Ohio. They do a great job in providing therapeutic services for families with dealing with autism. Summit Academy Schools. That is a charter school organization here in Ohio. They operate 26 schools in Ohio. There's one in Cincinnati, and they serve the Asperger, high-functioning autism, ADHD population They're really in the trenches with our children, doing a great job. Also, another charitable organization that we just started supporting is Cincinnati Therapeutic Riding and Horsemanship. And it's called hippotherapy, horseback riding for children with autism. It does a lot of great things for children physically, and then also forging that social relationship.
Well, Tammy, thanks for all you're doing for this special community. Thanks for being with us today. Good luck with your new business, with your family, and we will see you next time here on the Gehring Center Report.